is talk about why paperless. And most people are going to say, well, you can't do paperless. It's just not possible. Well, let's see if we can reframe the term of what paperless means and try to put it in context, and then show you 5 key strategies for game-changing business breakthroughs using DocTrak to achieve that. So the first thing, let's get to the right screen here. My definition of paperless. It's really simple. Removing paper from part or all of a business process. So that's the way I define paperless. It doesn't mean paperless throughout an organization. What it means is attacking various business processes, various things that you do, and try to remove paper from either part of it or all of the business process. The more you do, the more paperless you become. To become totally paperless is a pipe dream. It's really, in today's world, is pretty much a pipe dream. There's always the need for some kind of paper, even if that paper is a label to take products down the shop floor. There's always the need for some type of paper. But we're going to talk about trying to get rid of an awful lot of it. So why is it you make a process paperless? Because the first thing is paper is a hiding place for inefficiency. Anywhere you see paper, and let me see, I'm going to turn around and look at my desk, and I've got a little bit on my desk as well. It's inefficient. It's hiding things. It's either distracting your mind or making you look around for things, or, you know, where did I put that? It's just an inefficient way of doing things. And if you think about it, where do you put paper? Besides on your desk, of course. You put it in your file cabinets, you make copies, you give it to everybody else, and hopefully they file it away and put it in the right spot. But God darn it, whenever something's lost, people are running all over the place looking for it. It gets misfiled, happens to be out in somebody else's hands or whatever. All of that is just inefficiency for an organization. You got to be able to operate much more streamlined than that. And inefficiency consumes a tremendous amount of time. Anybody who's tried to find some paper in the past and can't find it knows exactly what I'm talking about. Time costs money. So when you lose time, you lose money. And what do we have too little of? Well, time and money. And what does it take to grow a business? Time and money. So the bottom line is we've got to save some time, save some money, and try to make the best of getting rid of paper from as many business processes as we can. So what kind of industries use paper? Well, everyone does. They all use paper to one degree or another. It doesn't make any difference what industry you're in, whether you're aerospace and defense, precision machining, window and door, metal fabrication. It doesn't make any difference. Everybody uses paper. Where does SyteLine use paper? Well, I guess pretty much every place that I've got a bubble on this diagram is places where more paper is used. The one area that's probably the least amount, crazy enough, is advanced planning, or the APS, because it just runs in the background. Scheduling and capacity planning kind of run in the background. They really don't use paper, but most everything else does use paper to one degree or another. So what's our paperless strategy? Well, first of all, it starts with 4 Ds, and the first one is digitize. Very simply, make paper electronic. The interesting thing about when you make paper electronic, if you've ever tried to do this, and I don't go do this today because you might throw out your back, and I know all what it's like to get your back thrown out. But anyway, if you ever tried to lift a file cabinet full of paper, you know that it's tremendously heavy. If you took every piece of paper that's in that file cabinet, or multiple file cabinets, and you digitize them and put them electronically on a computer, that will not increase the weight of that computer even 1 ounce. So digitizing things, there's no weight to it all. But yet, when you have paper, it's in file cabinets. File cabinets consume space. They take up time. They take up, you know, it just consumes resources. And what you want to do, number one, is to digitize. The second thing you want to do is dematerialize. And dematerialize is pretty close to digitize. In other words, get the material, get the paper out of the picture and find a way to get it into the system electronically. Because when you do that, and that might be whether, they might be scanning it, it might be taking pictures of it and copying the picture. Do whatever you can to take photos, drawings, office files, any kind of thing that you can get information from your customers. If they fax you information, scan it in, do whatever you can to dematerialize it. And then demonetize it. And that would, by digitizing it, what you're really doing is you're demonetizing it. In other words, you're making it much less expensive than what it was before. And we're not just talking about the cost of the paper. That's you know, a small thing as compared to the overall cost of using paper. And finally, democratize it. And what that means is make it available to everybody that needs it instantaneously, where they don't run around looking for it. And I can give you 2 different ways that people run around looking for one. One where they run to look for it or walk to look for it, and the other one where they run around their system looking for a document. Think of it this way. If you have a document that's somewhere in your file cabinets, you got to get up and you've got to move around in order to find it. And when you can't find it, that's when all the trouble starts. It's going from office to figure out where it is, looking through your desk, whatever it may be. But does it really make a difference whether you're physically walking around the office or whether you're virtually walking around Windows Explorer trying to find a document as well? Have you ever been in a situation where you just can't find the document? You're going through every folder and everything else. You're doing searches. You're trying to find things, and it's just tough to find. Well, what we want to do is democratize that. Make it so that it's readily available, instantly available based on what you're looking for. And then once you've got it, it's also instantly available for anybody else that needs to use it. When you do this, you exponentialize your organization. You can take your organization and make it 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times. Who knows how much you can grow as a result of it. Because you're freeing up your time, you're freeing up the inefficiency of paper, you're making it instantly available, you're not losing things, everything is in its right spot. And we're going to show you just how to get that done. And we're going to start and talk about drawings and office files. We'll move on to emails and emailed documents. We'll also talk about scanned documents, so documents that come in on paper or are on paper and need to be scanned. And then SyteLine outbound documents. And what I mean by that is if you send a document from SyteLine out to a customer or to a vendor, so if you get those kind of documents like purchase orders and customer order verifications and invoices and all those paper generating type documents, all of those things we're going to show you as well. And then finally, shop floor information or job packets. We'll talk about that as well. So with that being said, let me switch a screen here. And I'm going to go in. I'll start with the items in the item master. And I'll give you a quick rundown on DocTrak and just how it functions. So what I'll do is I'll select an item. Over on the right-hand side, you can see this icon. And what it is a piece of paper with a push pin on it. That's the DocTrak icon, well, one of the DocTrak icons. And when you push that, what it does is it opens up the DocTrak linked form. So in this case, I happen to have 4 different documents that are attached to this item. One of these documents right here is, well, let me just slide this over a little bit. It's a mountain bike picture. So if I open it, now I didn't have to run to any file cabinet to get it. I didn't have to worry about where in Windows Explorer this thing happened to be. I really don't care because it goes out there and finds it and brings it back to me. In fact, one of the things that you'll find with DocTrak is that everything is keeping a shortcut or the path to where the file is. If I take another item, this one happens to be stored in a SharePoint database. So when you look at this first one, there's 2 backslashes. That's server, folder, 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 file name. When you look at this one, these got backslashes. This one is an HTTP. So this is with forward slashes. This means that it's a web address, and this happens to be in our SyteLine 9 SharePoint 2010 database. So if I open this one, again, I don't have to worry about where is it that it's stored. It's bringing the information back to me so I can take a look at it. And then from here, depending upon what kind of capabilities you've got, you've the ability to zoom in or zoom out and see whatever level of detail that you want to be able to see. So the information, and I know you can do this exact same thing. All you do is you take a drawing, and you take that drawing and hold it away from your face and put it closer and closer and closer, and that's how you zoom in with paper, right? And then if you want to turn it around, you just kind of turn that paper around, you spin it around in circles, and then you can get a full 3D look at things just the way I'm doing it right now. seriously though, and by the way, a long time ago, hopefully you guys never get this old, but anyway, a long time ago I went to the eye doctor, and my eye doctor says, hey, your eyes are really good, but he says, hold this piece of paper about 10 inches away from your eyes, and can you see it okay? And I said, yeah. And he said, move it closer until you can't, until it gets blurry. So I moved it closer, and it's probably 3 inches away. And he says, you're going to notice that starting to get farther and farther away all the time. Well, I've got to tell you, that exact moment was when my eyes started going bad. If I would have never went to the eye doctor, my eyes never would have been bad, and I could have pulled these things as close to my face as I wanted to in order to be able to show them close up. So anyway, that's an example of something that's in a document that's in SharePoint. Okay, and the way we attach them is really, really easy. All you'd have to do is just click. And when you click to add a new record, just like you would do in normal SyteLine, it's got the ability to browse. So, well, okay, let's just do it the long way. It's got a drop zone, and that drop zone says if you have a file out on a, let's see if I can find an example here. If I had a file, I could take this file, I could just drag it down. Well, here, I'll move it out of the way so we can see this a little bit better. I can just take this, drop it, and once I drop it, it says file was dropped, and now let's minimize this, and I've got another one, and let's say this is a bike drawing, and we'll save it. So that's all it was. I can just use a browser if I wanted to. I can just go out and browse around and find something. I can use a drop zone and just drag and drop. And then once I've got it, I can just say open, and it opens. Now, this one isn't in SharePoint. This was out on the file system. And so it basically got another copy of the same drawing. So I had my original drawing. I've got the new one that I added. If you got to get rid of something, you can just say that you want to delete it, save. And now, but just so you know, there's a parameter inside of DocTrak that allows you to say, abide by the rules of SyteLine. So if you don't have the ability to delete items in the item master, you can't delete documents either. If you have the ability to read, like items in SyteLine, you'll have the ability to read documents. If you have the ability to read and write, then you can add new ones. So anyway, it follows the permissions. And what I'm showing you is just items. So far, this goes from items to customers to vendors to purchase orders to customer orders, jobs, operations, bills of material, the accounting system. You can have documents all over the place, and all of these work basically the same way. Single file, or a single screen. DocTrak basically runs with a single form. But one thing I want to show you. These two documents, the first one, which is the picture, and the second one, which is a drawing, those two are just linked documents. Okay, this one's linked via SharePoint. The other one is linked via Windows. These here are what's called virtual attachments. In other words, nobody ever linked them at all. What happened is there's a rule that gets written, and that rule will automatically attach documents based upon information that happens to be in the item master. So, give you an example. In this case here, I've got this guy here, which is, let's see, it's DF_FA10000 Rev1 drawing. So that's a CAD drawing. This guy here happens to be a document. Okay, so there's two virtual rules. What I'm going to do is go back to the item in the item master. I'm going to change this from revision 1 to revision 2, and then I'll save that. So now it's revision 2. Let's go back to our DocTrak items. Now there's 3 of them. Okay, the first one, which was a drawing, is now a solid model. It's a SharePoint solid model. The second one is another SolidWorks part, and the third one is a quality document. So essentially what happens is a rule is really running in the background, and when you come to an item, the rule executes and it finds all the documents to satisfy the conditions of the rule. And just to make, so that I can make sense out of this whole thing, I'm going to go in and I'll go into what's called the virtual rules. Now we're in the item form. So what I'm going to do is look at my item revision rule. And here's how it's set up. It says, look in the SL90000 server under DocTrak, under item docs, and then it's got this guy right here that has item in with a left and right bracket on it. that says substitute the item number in. So it's saying substitute the item number. If I'm on an FA10,000, put FA10,000 in there. In other words, that's the folder name. If I'm on FA20,000, it'll put FA20,000, it'll look for a folder there. Then what it's going to do is look for any file where it substitutes the item and the revision. It's got to start with DF underscore, puts in the item, asterisk, which means it's a wildcard. There could be characters in between, then the revision, and then another asterisk. So any kind of file that might be out there. Now, if I only wanted PDFs, I might put asterisk.pdf at the end. If I only wanted CAD drawings, it might be asterisk.dwg. But that's all there is to a rule. You write a rule one time, just once, and then from there, it's just going to run every time for every item in the item master. So if you've got a lot of files out there already set up, and as an example, maybe the item number is embedded in the name of the file, you can write one rule and you don't have to do any attachments at all. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so as a result of this rule, that just runs. So you'll notice that it says item here, and then it says item in revision. If I go back to my DocTrak documents, there's my item. Here's the DF underscore. It's substituted the item number, and it substituted the revision number, which was revision 2. If I go back and I change this back to revision 1, save it. Oh, hold on. And then we go back. Now we've got 2 other documents, and these here all have revision 1 in the rule. So it's just a simple substitution method in order to get that done. Okay, so I've covered a little bit of ground here in terms of how these documents are ultimately used. I'm going to switch and I'm going to go to a totally different item, this FRMB 10,000, which is a mountain bike. And let's go back, because I'm going to use this kind of going through the presentation from this point forward. This has 2 documents associated with it. One is, it's on Windows, but it's FA10,000 SLD ASM, which is a SolidWorks solid model, kind of the same bike. I've been opening up for quite some time here. And what it also has is a bike picture. Okay, so I've got both of those. Interestingly enough, this bike picture, it says DocTrak form output bundle options. Okay, so DocTrak form output means when you output a form out of SyteLine, like an estimate response, a job packet, an order invoice or credit memo, order verification, a purchase order requisition. This one has a checkbox that says when an order verification is run, when that item is on the order, take this bike picture and bundle that with the order verification. Okay? On this solid model, there's nothing checked. If I wanted to, I could say, I can't bundle a CAD drawing. It just can't do it. But it could be added to the email as a separate attachment. Now, bear with me here. I'm kind of looking at it from a standpoint of saying, if I'm going to bundle this with an order verification, I'm going to email the order verification to the customer. And if I wanted a separate attachment, then I just click on this and it would send it as a separate attachment. So I'm going to take you through that process. And in order to do that, let's just close a few of these folders. And I'm just going to go out to orders, and let's just go to customer orders. So we'll go in and we'll add a customer order, and I'm not going to put the order number in here. Well, actually, I got to take my filter off, and let's just add a brand new order in. Now, in this case, again, I won't put an order number in here, but I'm just going to say that it's going to be customer number 1. And then we get enough information to save that. Oh, by the way, I think I'll put the purchase order number on there as well. That would be good to have. So I'm going to put 2015-07, and I think, I don't recall, 14, yeah. It's easy to figure out what the date is. It's right there. So I'll just make the customer purchase order match today's date just to make it easy. Now, in the process of doing this, I might be in a situation where the customer has sent me an email with their purchase order on it, okay? So in a case like that, what I'd probably want to do is I'd like to do a scan or a save of a DocTrak attachment. So I'm going to go out here and I'm going to say, I'm going to save an email of a customer purchase order. And I'll just say next, and it gave me a drop zone. Now, I also have Outlook open. Well, I guess I don't have Outlook open, but soon enough. So here's the purchase order. and a sketch along with that. First of all, let's take a look at the purchase order, just so you can see it. So there's the purchase order. And if I wanted to be able to attach that, all I got to do is drag from an email. Now, isn't that cool? I'm dragging from an email, and I'm going to drop it into this drop zone. And when I hover over the drop zone, what it does, it changes color. So when I drop this, just like that, it says the file was dropped, it's done, and now if I go out and I look at my attachments, I'm going to have the email of a customer purchase order attached automatically. All right? Now, when they sent me that email, if I ever want to go out there and find out, well, where did this put this out on the system, all I have to do is say Explore, and it takes me right out to where it was saved. Now, in this case, this is order number 1067, okay? And what it did is it created a folder 1067. It didn't exist there before, it just created it on the fly. To be able to show that, I just clicked a level above, and you can see it's 7:14 and it's 1:26. Now it's about 1:27 Central Time where I am, and that's when it created that folder. So it didn't have one, and it created it, and then once it created it, it put the file out here. It renamed it. It called it customer PO underscore C-1, which is for customer number 1, underscore customer order dash 1067. That happens to be, again, our customer order number. And then it put the date and the timestamp in here. So it put 2015-07-14 at 13 or 125 and then milliseconds at the end here. So it's given us a date and timestamp and then saving it as a PDF. When it did that, it also linked it back to the originating point in SyteLine. Now, how easy is it for you to take any kind of an email or paper document or whatever it happens to be and do the same thing? All we did is drag, drop, instantly done, stored away in a predetermined place. Nobody rekeyed it, didn't have to change the name because the system changed the name automatically for me, linked it back to the customer order, and created a file folder system so that everything is searchable even outside of SyteLine. So it's not like we put this into a database, and now you have to buy DocTrak license to look at it. You can look at this, it's Windows. You can look at it any way you want. Or if it put it into a SharePoint database, you can do the same thing. So anyway, let's just keep going here. And I'm going to go back to the customer order, and I'm going to add in a line. And with that line, I'm just going to add in the FRMB 10,000 that we were talking about before. And we'll order 2 pieces or 2 bikes, and let's just save that. Now, as a result of saving it, I've got a blank sheet of paper up here in the background. That means there's no documents out there associated with this. Now, I'm not saving any documents, but notice now there's a push pin. There are some documents out there. Well, let's go look at them once. There's the solid model, which came from the item master. Okay, and here's the bike picture, which also came from the item master. So all I had to do is enter the information, enter the customer order in, and it knows that this is an indirect record. In other words, it's not something physically attached to the customer order line item. It's an indirect record. It's attached to the item, and that just comes along for the ride. And then as a result, everything is set up properly. This bike picture is going to be bundled with our order verification. Okay. Now let's just go back to the customer order. And along the way, our customer also sent us a sketch. So now I'm going to put an email of a customer supplied sketch, and I'll say next. And again, it gives me a drop zone. And on that drop zone, I'll take this same. Now I could drag the entire email if I wanted to. I could attach an entire email, or I could attach just the pieces of the email. So in this case, I'm going to put the sketch. So just so you can see what it looked like, it's all done, but I'm going to go back into Outlook and double click, and there's my pretty little picture of the bike sketch. All right. If I go into SyteLine and I go take a look at DocTrak, what you'll see is here's the email of the customer. Let's spread this out a little bit so you can see it a little more better. Customer purchase order, but then there's the customer supplied sketch. So if I click and open on that, there it is. It's automatically attached. It got put in the right place. How did it get put in the right place? It followed the rules that I had. If I went out and looked at Explorer, there they are. They happen to be in the same folder. This one kept the same file name. The original one, the PO, renamed it to the name that we wanted to store it as. Okay, so now I've got all these documents all attached. What I want to do, I'm going to save this, save my grid lines changes so I can read these a little bit easier. We'll go back to the customer order and say, let's do an order verification. So before I do this order verification, what I did is I did a drag and a drop of an email. Also showed you how you can drag and drop any kind of file in Windows to attach it to an item or a customer or a vendor or a line item or job or operations, bill of materials, whatever you need. And also showed you how a virtual rule works, where you can set up one rule and you can attach a whole bunch of documents all at once just by using a smart file name in the process. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach an outbound document. In other words, an order verification report. I'm going to say print with attachments, and then I'm going to say print DocTrak. So what it'll do is it says, okay, it's submitted the report. This is going on in the background. I'm not going to wait around for it, but what I am going to do is go back to my customer orders, and I'm going to go back into DocTrak, and as a result of that, when I go into the menu, what I've got is I've got this forms bundling overview. Now, here's the key thing. These two documents are record attachments. The email of the customer purchase order is a record attachment. It is attached to customer order 1067. The customer supplied sketch is also attached to order number 1067. But if I look at the forms bundling overview, it's attached to all customer orders. In other words, if you wanted to put your own documentation, internal procedure documents in here, you can have the procedure documents be electronic. So if somebody needed to know how to add a new order, make a change, check pricing, whatever, you could put all of that and attach that to the customer order screen, and it's available on any customer order. People can just click and open it up. In my case, I've put a forms bundling overview, and here's what's going on in the background when I told it to process that order verification. First thing is the user says they want to process. Then DocTrak takes over. It gathers all the documents, the customer order, the printed one, what comes out of SyteLine, the terms and conditions. You can have multiple page terms and conditions for any customer order. Any direct attachments, in other words, anything directly attached to the order or the line item, such as the customer supplied purchase order and the customer supplied sketch that came as a result of an email. And then also any referenced attachments. Those referenced attachments were on that FRMB 10,000 bike. It had two attachments, the picture and the solid model. Those are referenced attachments. It takes all of those, and then what it does is it preps them for bundling. So it stacks them up and puts them in order. It then bundles them into a PDF file. It takes that PDF file, archives it on your network with a smart file name, just like we showed before when we were doing the drag and drop. It then also takes the archive file and links it to the originating customer order. And then it sends it to the customer via the appropriate method, whether that's fax, email, or print, and that's set up in your customer document profile of SyteLine. Now, I'm on SyteLine 9. Many of you may not be, but this works exactly the same whether it's 9 or 8. It doesn't make any difference. It's working exactly the same, okay? And now finally, customers and users have a paperless order verification. So what happens is this is what we call document automation. DocTrak automates all the green shaded steps, which typically, if you were to do that yourself, would take time. And what you get is more consistency, less paper, less manual effort, and the whole thing just works. You can tell at the end of the day, if you wanted to, you could go through all your order verifications and say, print from this one to this number to that number, a range, and just go away, walk away, and go home. And the system will take care of running every one of those. It'll create them. It'll create the bundled document. It'll attach it back to the originating customer order. It files it. It sends it out. It even faxes the information because we have fax interface as well. And if you wanted to print it, it would still print all the bundled information. So that's what's happening behind the scenes. Okay. If I come back here and I do a refresh, what we now have is there is now an order verification out here. And when I open that order verification, here's what comes from SyteLine. So I'll fit it to a page. That's what SyteLine would provide. And now here's what DocTrak provides. Multiple pages of terms and conditions. There's the picture of the bike that was pulled in from the email. And there's the bike photo that came as a result of back in the item master, that attachment. So all of this information went back. Now, the one thing it didn't do is it didn't have the customer supplied or purchase order on it, but that never was checked for the order verification. If I wanted to, I could just turn this on, run it again, and now I've combined my output with the customers, what they provided me, and now it would be all available. And the great thing is it's all online. And if I look at my Explorer again, you don't have to do this. I'm just showing you where it is. Notice it put everything in the same folder. Just named them differently based upon the rules associated with the particular form. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's go out to Outlook, because this one I just know that this was emailed to a customer. So in this case here, at 1:32, Infor order acknowledgement for order number 1067 attached. This happened to be 1067, and if I click to open it, here's my order that goes to the customer. In this case, you can put your logo on it. It'll fill in the purchase order number, so it fills in the 2015-07-14. It fills in the order number, fills in the name of the sales rep's name. It allows you to put clickable links. So if you wanted to put a link here to say, click here to see a brand new product that we've just announced, you can do that, and it makes it easy for people to know about you. So essentially, your order verifications, your invoices, your order estimate response forms, all of those things can help you sell without having to have a salesperson standing there talking to them. So you can do that. What you can also do is make clickable links. You know, if you want to have somebody follow you via social media, you could do that, but you could also say, click here to see what our customers say about our products and services, and then put testimonials in. Those are great when you send out an estimate response form, because the customer or prospective customer is seeing you in a totally different way than what anybody else is seeing you. You probably know what, if you printed a order acknowledgement out of SyteLine, what the output is going to look like on that in an email. It's pretty, I hate to say, it's pretty sad to say the least. It's very, you can't change text. You don't have hyperlinks. It certainly doesn't have buttons. And this gives you the ability to customize this unique to what you want to do for your organization. In addition, it also contains the link. So there's the link. It has all of the same documents is what our attachment had. So all of this stuff is all paperless. It's available to anybody. If a salesperson would come in and want to check on the order, they got the exact same information as what you've got. Okay, so now let's take this another level. What I'm going to do is we'll go from our customer order lines, and then what we're going to do is go to our customer order lines, and this happens to be a manufactured item, so it requires a job. So what I'm going to do is just push the source button and let it go out there and create a reference, create the cross-reference from the order to the job. So there's my job 272 right now. If I say source again, it'll open up the job folder, and we'll have job 272. If I look at it, it already has attachments. I didn't do anything. The attachments are already there. Where are they coming from? Well, two of them are coming from the customer. We've got the customer's website and a customer information document that just came from the customer file. So there's some attachments coming along from the customer. There's also attachments coming from the item. Well, you already know what those are. So these are all indirect attachments. You can still add direct attachments if you want, but right now these are indirect attachments. What I'm also going to do is take this job order, and just to make it easier, I'm going to come out here and copy the current routing and bill of material. Right now there is none. We're going to copy it. So we just let it go to its thing. And as a result of that, I now have a routing and bill of material. So let's go out to the operations. In this, well, let it open it up first. In this operation, which is operation 10, there are some documents attached. If I click, there's the item documents. There's an item current operation document, which is an assembly video, and there's also a work center attachment. So if there's something that you do because this is going through a specific work center, then you can have work center attachments as well. But this one happens to be a video. And so you can have a setup video, maybe a place where you have to make sure that safety labels are put, just to make sure that people don't forget things, how to set up the machine, whatever the case may be. You can have videos, you can have drawings, you can have anything that you want. And again, you know, the great thing about having something, again, even if it's in a solid model as an example, is it gives the person a chance to spin that around, look at it from different angles, and see the information that they need to be able to see out on the shop floor. But let's take this a step at a time. We're not quite to the shop floor yet. So now I've got all my job is already created. All the operations are there, the bills of material, all the documents, whether they're documents for the items on the bill of material or for the operation. And what I'm going to do is do a job packet. So I'm just going to tell it to do a job packet, and I'm going to say print with attachments and print DocTrak. Okay, so now that's what's going on right now. In the meantime, let's go back out of here. And we have this job order 272, okay? One of the other applications that we have is an application called DocTrak. And DocTrak allows a person out on the shop floor to be able to come in and record their time. It does time and attendance and labor collection all at the same time. So anyway, if they were going to do a run transaction, and they said, oh gosh, I don't know what job I'm supposed to run, and they push visual dispatch, the visual dispatch gives them a listing of all the jobs that are at their resource group, so that they can pick the right job. Now, if you look here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs, but our job number, that 272, isn't there. Wonder why. If I go, oh, there, because it's a firm job. Let's change it to released, and then let's just save this record. Oh, this is a lot tracked item, so I have to generate lots of serials. So let's generate a serial number. So now I've got some serial numbers generated. Uh-oh. It also has lots on here. I wasn't quite preparing for that, so let's just see what we've got. I'll generate for 1. Okay, so now let's save this. As a result of saving it, let's go right back out and take a look at this. Now it's still 6. If I generate, now there's, or refresh, now there's 7. There's our job 272. If I want to go out and look at documents, here's our solid model, our bike picture, our assembly video, and there's the job paperwork that we just processed just a moment earlier. So now here's the job traveler, all paperless, all the various operations. Here's a material pick list. I can have everything that I need available to me, including, or available to the people in the shop floor, including any kind of documents to say, make sure that when you package this, that you label it properly. And then also, when you do package it, this is the way it should be packaged. So the idea behind this is that many times people write a ton of different notes, and people can misinterpret notes, but it's really tough to misinterpret a picture. The whole idea is that this thing just knows, it's easy to see where you have to have it. So in some cases where people are manually entering, as an example, labor transactions, maybe you should have that person go out with digital camera, take some pictures, use a Photoshop, and you know, write on there exactly what they're supposed to be able to see, so that when they're doing their job out on the shop floor, they can do it in a very easy manner. Now, I'm going to take this one step farther. I'm running a little bit out of time because I want to try to get done with about 15 minutes to spare. We got started 5 minutes late, but we'll kind of keep going. And by the way, just hang on till the end, because I'm going to show you a way that you can get an electronic demo copy of what we've done today. So I'll do that right at the end. So I'm going to take you through, and let's go to the same person. And let's say, and I don't know if you do Kanban replenishments out on your shop floor, but in DocTrak, I'm going to do a Kanban replenishment for a CU 10,000, okay? And I'm just going to say replenish, and what it does is it says submitted order. Now, when I go out to SyteLine, I'll come out to my vendor area. Okay, it's doing some receiver stuff because there's quality control going on in the background. I'm going to ignore that for right now. I'm going to go into the vendor area, and I'll go into purchase orders, and let's open purchase orders. And let's filter for any purchase orders created today's date. And that was a CU 10,000. So here's purchase order 141 to vendor number 1. If I take a look at the lines, here's the CU 10,000. The key of what I want to show you is when they did a Kanban replenishment from the shop floor, it created this purchase order. And then what it also did, I got the wrong one, is it attached some documents for me. So in this case, I've got a cushioned seat picture because that's what it's a seat that we're ordering. And then I also have a seat drawing. Okay, so I've got drawing and a picture. The drawing doesn't have any checkboxes on it. The picture has a checkbox on bundle with a purchase order. Okay, but right up somewhere else out in the shop floor, another person comes up and they want to order a seat clamp, Kanban replenishment, and they say replenish. I'm going to go right back into SyteLine, and let's go back to our purchase order lines, and I'm just going to do a refresh. And there's our CU 20,000. It added to the same purchase order because it's going to be sourced from the same vendor. So in this case, let's take a look at our documents. This also has, that's a seat picture. Hold on. I got to select it first. So let's go to our lines. This is a seat clamp picture. In this case, it's a clamp. This clamp, I'm not going to delete it. What am I doing? I want to close it. This clamp is going to be, the picture is going to be bundled again with a purchase order, and the drawing is going to be attached as a separate email attachment. So now what we've done is we've done kind of an interesting thing. From a ShopTrak standpoint, what it's done is instead of somebody having to enter a purchase order for a Kanban replenishment of parts that we buy, we're having it create a purchase order automatically. When it created the purchase order, it attached all the appropriate documents so they're all available. And now all we got to do is just go out maybe at the end of the day and do a purchase order report for all the Kanban replenishments from all the various vendors and tell it to print DocTrak. And if you can probably guess what's going to happen. Just like when we were in the customer order, the purchase orders, I'll close a couple of these screens. And let's go to our documents. So in this case, already the purchase order is there. It bundled it that fast. So here's our purchase order. If I scroll down through this thing, multiple pages, multiple page terms and conditions. There's the picture of the seat. There's the seat clamp, all bundled together. And then if I go back out to our Outlook, and let's just do send receive. There's our purchase order that got sent out to the vendor. I'm just acting as the vendor in this case. And now, not only did it send the purchase order, just the way we have it stored in our system, but DocTrak has also sent the solid model, and they get to have the solid model as well. So now they've got the latest drawing to be able to make the product and be able to provide it back to us. So I've covered an awful lot of ground from the standpoint of how DocTrak works. It's integration between DocTrak and ShopTrak, rules, different ways you can attach, how output comes out of SyteLine, and you can attach that information back, and how it stores the files uniquely. Does anybody have any questions?
Sorry, Greg, I just have to unmute everybody, so give me a moment.
Okay.
And we'll open it up for questions. Okay.
From Copley, I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a strategy to get a customer from FastView to DocTrak? They've been on FastView for maybe 8 years, and they've collected a lot. I think DocTrak works a lot better. Is there a way to get their existing FastView data into DocTrak?
Well, first of all, I don't know in terms of FastView data and how it works, but I think they have something like rules with smart file names. If they do, then it's just writing some virtual rules in DocTrak, and you could attach all the same documents. If it's not there, then you could dump it out into Excel, put it into a file, and then we can give you how you link it, you know, where the codes are for linking it, and then you can just do an Excel file upload.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. By the way, what I didn't say along the way is that DocTrak will track any kind of document. If it can be stored in Windows or on SharePoint, it can be attached via DocTrak.
Just a footnote too, Greg. Two Copley clients, Zildjian, who makes symbols, and also a company called Klugear in Plymouth, Mass, that makes drinking containers, are both avid users of DocTrak, and it's working very well.
Well, that's great. Yeah,
they're both on 9. Yeah.
I know that they work really closely with us in a few different situations with Zildjian anyway, because Zildjian, I know they've got the ShopTrak application, and they wanted some really, they found some interesting ways to streamline it, and we loved what they had to say, and we turned around and worked with them and put some of the ideas into standard product.
Yeah, in fact, we eliminated the mods when we upgraded, and we're all standard product now. So
that's awesome. That's what we like to see. Any other questions out there? Nothing. I couldn't have answered things that well.
All right.
Anyway, what I'll do is, if there aren't any questions, let me just run back, and I want to just show you the go through the end of this thing. Let me see. I got to get to the right spot. One of the things that I want to be able to talk about is the Lake Company's paperless solutions. And what it starts with is, well, first of all, they're impressive when they're used alone. Everything is built upon a paperless foundation, and it starts with DocTrak, and that's paperless document automation. And what it goes to is ShopTrak, which is paperless shop floor execution and time and attendance. So those two are integrated. You saw a little bit as to how those are done. We also have FactTrak, which is paperless enterprise intelligence. So in other words, business intelligence. Some of it is embedded into the ShopTrak application, but then it also has some unique things on its own as well. And all of these are supported by what's called OnTrack, which is online training and implementation assistance. It's all online plus coaching calls so that you can basically learn online and not have to invest very much money at all in terms of getting implemented. But here's the cool thing. Tomorrow, we're announcing a new product, and it is really, really, really awesome. It's going to be absolutely game-changing in manufacturing. We've applied for a patent on it already. Our patent attorneys who are nationwide, known nationwide in the IT industries, said we think you guys have hit a winner on this one. So anyway, we're really going to be happy to announce things tomorrow, and what that means is these are impressive when used alone, but they're game-changing when used together. And this whole process of going through everything is all built upon a paperless foundation. That's the way we kind of look at things, because it's not because, you know, that I'm an environmentalist and I love to save trees. I got a bulldozer. I like to knock them down just for fun. But the point is, the idea behind it is paper is a hiding place for inefficiency. And what you're really trying to do is drive that out. And by going paperless, you're able to achieve that. So anyway, if you want to see a recorded demo of DocTrak, all you have to do is text your first name, your last name, and your email address to 920-933-1833. So just first name space last name space email address, and text that in, and we'll instantly put you on a what we call a demo on demand. That'll get you all the information about DocTrak, and then what it also does is gives you the ability to show this stuff to other people in the office if you think it's truly worthwhile. And then Copley will be more than happy to follow up with you after you've had a chance to do that. Any other questions come up? Guys, I'm not that good. Come on. Maybe I was so boring I put them to sleep.
They're shy. All right. Well, thank you so much, Greg. And for everyone, thank you everyone for attending. And we did record this, so we will be sending out a recording in an email in the next week or so, along with, we do have 2 more webinars coming up in the next couple months. Next month will be Sales and Use Tax Compliance presented by Avalara. And in September will be Resource Partner Scheduling with Infor Service Management. And if anyone does have any further questions, they can shoot me an email at cforbes@copleycg.com. All right, thanks again, and thank you so much, Greg.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Bye.